Who here wants more traffic for your website, your podcast, your YouTube videos? I think we can all agree we all want more traffic. And I also think we can all agree there are seemingly millions of different ways that we can get more traffic to these places that are important to us. In this particular video, you're going to learn my top 5 ways, counting down from 5 all the way to my favorite, the best ways that you can earn more traffic. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm going to help you make things easier. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much. My name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And in fact, we are watching live right now. And if you're here live with your friends in the morning here, just say hello to your friends and give them a tag and say welcome in. And if you're watching the replay, please type in #replay in the comment section to let me know that you're here watching the replay. Appreciate you, whether you're live, watching the replay. Let's have some fun. Let's learn some stuff, and let's be together.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right, I want you to tell me in the chat, if you're here with me live, what are some of the different ways that you've tried to earn more traffic? And also, if you'd like to share what has been working for you. This way we can crowdsource some ideas from each other here right from the start. If you're watching the replay, I would encourage you to come live every day. In fact, yes, every day. This is episode 174 of the Income Stream. We are 26 days away from number 200, which is kind of insane, but I'm really excited because we're going to have something special happening on that day. And I'm really excited to chat today specifically about traffic. We had a good day yesterday, Labor Day. We had a fun little Q&A over the last couple days. Today we're honing in on a specific topic, again, traffic. Now, there's all types of traffic. I've had millions of people visit my site, and guess what? Not all millions of people should have come to my website. So why am I starting with this? I'm starting with this because we want to also focus on not just any old traffic, but targeted traffic. I remember one day back in, when was this? This was, I think, 2009. So I had my brand new website, right? Actually, let's story time this. So back in 2009, I started my blog, and it was going, right? I didn't have a ton of traffic right away, but I kept grinding. I kept writing content. I kept trying to connect with people. And then one day I woke up and I saw 12,000 new visitors on my website that day. And I couldn't believe it. I said, hey, you know what? This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the moment. And unfortunately, it wasn't the moment, because the next day, literally all that traffic never came back. And the reason why this traffic came in was because there was a website called StumbleUpon. And on StumbleUpon, it was similar to Reddit in a way, but kind of more based on links outside of StumbleUpon, where people could share their favorite bookmarks with each other. And for whatever reason, a particular post that I had written, in fact, I think it was my income stream or something like that, or the actual income reports. I can't remember exactly what article it was, but it got picked up on StumbleUpon. And I remember seeing 12,000 visitors on one day, which was like, normally it was like 50 to 100 at the time. And I thought I made it. But unfortunately, as we all know, not all traffic is made equal. And it's traffic, do you guys remember StumbleUpon? StumbleUpon brought all this traffic, and the bounce rate was like 98%, and nobody ever came back. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 people. I mean, maybe somebody here caught me on StumbleUpon. Highly doubtful, though. I've had much more leverage doing other things, the 5 things that we're going to be talking about today, specific to getting more traffic. So yeah, although you might get a ton of listeners, a ton of viewers, a ton of readers, not all traffic is made equal. And I would much rather have, and if you agree with me, let me know, I would much rather have 1,000 people who absolutely love what they're reading and want to stick around and keep coming back versus 10 million people who come in and then immediately leave, right? If anything, that could potentially hurt my servers, right? And just kind of kill everything. So not all traffic is, GTO says, yep, I remember StumbleUpon, RIP StumbleUpon. Yes, RIP. It was a cool thing. It was a beast, as Chris says, for sure. But not all traffic is made equal, for sure. So let's count down from our top 5 a number of ways to generate traffic, okay? And the first way, number 5 right here, we're going to talk about content marketing. So creating content, but just creating content doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get traffic. Thanks for the thumbs ups, by the way. That helps with the algorithm. The thumbs downs help too. So either way, thank you for the engagement. Content marketing. Just writing a piece of content or creating a piece of content or, recording a piece of content. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get traffic. It doesn't necessarily mean that. We know this because there's people who've been creating great content for years and perhaps are not even getting found. So there has to be something in between. And this is why content marketing is where that comes into play, the marketing part of it. And I want to start with just the kind of content that we create. There's 3 kinds of content and actually specific examples that have helped me get the most kind of traffic. And I'd love to share these things with you too. So there's a lot of planning involved. And of course, we could write about anything. And just because you're publishing something, if it's not relevant, if it's not helpful, if it's not going to be shared, then it might not even be worth doing, right? If you're not getting shared, you're not getting seen, I once heard. So again, we're starting at number 5, content. Just because you're creating content doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to create traffic, but you're at least, number 1, giving yourself that opportunity. And with a few fine-tuning things that you can do beforehand, you could potentially gain some traffic. And what's nice about content is, especially in many cases, it can be evergreen. There are pieces of content that I've written years ago that continue to work for me. And in fact, it's very much a Pareto's rule. 20% of the content is creating 80% of the traffic. So this just tells you that not everything that you write is going to get massive amounts of traffic or everything you record. But even on YouTube, I would say 20% of the videos that I have in my archive are providing 80% of the new subscribers and new viewers. So the more you create, yes, the more opportunity, but we want to create quality stuff as well. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. One of them is my very, very popular how to start a podcast tutorial on my blog and as well on YouTube. What's nice about content marketing is you can talk about the same topic in different places and in different ways, even on the same platform, and you're able to sort of cover it at all angles and find people. As you can see, when I type in how to start a podcast here on Google, there's a lot of different results, but I'm seeing certain things like my how to start a podcast playlist on YouTube and how to start a podcast on my blog. Let me go to here we are on the blog. This post, I continually update every single year, and I update it with the latest and greatest content. And this is what I like to call a pillar post. This is something that I would highly recommend we all do. I've done a couple income streams about the importance of pillar posts. That is, you putting your flag on the ground and saying, I want to become known for this, and therefore I'm going to create the best content about this that's out there. And this has accounted for millions of visitors on the website. And of course, as you can see, I've integrated videos that are on my YouTube channel as well. Does Pat look like his shirt, or does his shirt look like Pat? What are you talking about, Jack? This is a Porg from Star Wars in a Harry Potter outfit. Harry Porger, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this page here, we've continued to add to it. It didn't start this long, but it definitely started with the idea of I want the best content out there that's going to help people for free, and that should hopefully attract people. And what it did was there was a couple things that happened because this was so complete. People found it, they started sharing it. I started seeing links to it on forums and other websites, and people saying, hey, I wish I could have created this tutorial myself, but Pat Flynn did it the right way. Here it is, and it'll save you lots of time. So people found me that way. People found me because of search engine optimization, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And this was, of course, based on keywords that were in the title and the description, and of course, just relevant content and interlinking, as well as embedded YouTube videos in here in this post. And as a result, it became the best resource to how to start a podcast. And of course, as a result of being the best resource, which again took time, it didn't get to number 1 right away. But after 5 or 6 months, I started to notice floods of traffic coming in, and it was because it started to rank number 1 in Google. Now it ranks anywhere between 2 and 6 sometimes. There's a lot more people competing for the same keyword, but as a result, I still get a ton of traffic from this. And like I said, on YouTube as well, it is one of the, if not the top tutorial on how to start a podcast. If I were to type in how to start a podcast in YouTube, let's see what we find. Number 2 right now. So 1.1 million views on this channel, which is pretty cool. So really excited about that. And I have some keyword insight related things here as well on the right hand side from Keywords Everywhere. Pretty excited about the fact that we're still, even after 2 years, continuing to rank really high with that particular keyword. And I think if I scroll down, I should be able to find even more videos from me here as well, because here's my latest video, in fact, starting a podcast, 5 surprising things they didn't tell you before you launch. So one topic, multiple angles, content. Content that can then be found in search engines, but content that is definitely shareable. And that is an example of a pillar type of content. Pillar being a foundational type of thing that holds up everything else, something that you want to become known for, something that you're going to put a little bit of extra time and effort into to create the best and greatest resource out there. Typically longer the better. We found that the more words within an article, the more likely it is to be ranking higher, the more likely it is to be shared. But that's not because there's more words. It's because those more words make it more complete, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense. So evergreen content for the win. Another type of piece of content, again, we're just talking about number 5 here, content marketing. We're counting down from 5, the top 5 ways to get traffic. And we're within number 5 here, which is creating content. Again, creating content alone is not going to get you more traffic, but it's going to at least give you opportunities to get more traffic. And with a little bit of planning ahead of time, with the types of content that you can create, you can attract some more traffic. Again, we're talking blog, podcast, or even YouTube channel. So we talked about specifically a pillar post, and I gave you an example of my How to Start a Podcast series. Another thing that worked out really well for me in the past was this thing called the Niche Site Duel. This was an event-like series, meaning this was a live case study that was unfolding that people wanted to see the end results of. Back in 2010, I was challenged by someone to create a niche site to see who would win in terms of getting to number 1 in Google first and also making money first from these websites. And we decided to make this challenge public. And as a result, we worked really hard, and I'm not going to mention names because this person eventually not backstabbed me, but I told a story about how this person completely was lying about a whole bunch of things, and then because I was associated with this, you guys remember that story? This was back in, I can't remember which episode of the income stream, but I told some really tough moments in my business that almost made me want to give up. This was one of them as well. And because I was associated with this person and because this person lied, it didn't look so good for me. Anyway, in the beginning of our relationship, things were going really well, and we challenged each other to create these websites. And this was a challenge that we made public, and it became a real-time case study that was unfolding over time. That was a series of maybe, I guess, 20 different blog posts within the course of a 6 or 10 month period. And throughout that series, I just kept unlocking new stages, sharing more results along the way. And as a result of that, people really were excited and were following along. And this didn't just get people excited because it was unfolding in real time. People love to see other people do things that are challenging that may fail. This requires you to step out of your comfort zone. It requires you to be vulnerable. It requires you to potentially fail. But when you do that, and win or fail, there's going to be lessons along the way too. So this niche challenge did extremely well for me in terms of gaining more traffic. And after I got to number 1 in Google in fact, 73 days, I actually beat the other guy, and I started making money through ads right away. And then I recently sold this website after 10 years this year. January this year, I ended up selling that business, which was a cool way to close that loop. But anyway, because of that series and people following along, it became a big event. And I didn't have a lot of traffic at first. By the end of this challenge, I had a lot of traffic because people were continually wanting to see what the latest update was. So how might you step out of your comfort zone a little bit and create some sort of experimental series that you can legit show people the way and lead the way? And what was really cool was after 73 days, I started to notice my affiliate income go up, because after I got to number 1 in Google, people wanted to go, wow, can I do the same thing? Pat did it. He shared the whole process. Let me go back and do all the same things he did and get all the same tools that he did too. So that worked really well. And hopefully you can use that as an inspiration moving forward. And finally, in terms of content, again, we're at number 5 here, content marketing. The third way that you can create content, we talked about specifically pillar content that's going to sort of outperform any other piece of content out there about a specific topic. And the more niche, the better, in fact, because there's less competition. So I chose How to Start a Podcast. I wrote about that in 2012 and continually update that article. And it still 8 years later continues to earn traffic for me, both on podcasts and YouTube and on the blog. Secondly, we just talked about literally just now, the Niche Site Duel, a series, a challenge, something that people can follow along, that creates excitement, that creates a little bit of anxiety, that is outside of your comfort zone, that can gain a lot of traction and be shareable in that way as well. Number 3 would be something like what I did in session 96 of the Smart Passive Income podcast. If I go to smartpassiveincome.com/session 96, you're going to see a podcast specifically about selling artwork online. Now, the interesting thing about this in particular was most of my audience, they weren't artists. I was inspired to create a very, very niche specific podcast episode. One, in fact, that I was almost regretting to do because I was worried that it was just not going to help many people, because my audience, they're entrepreneurs already or are starting their own businesses. They're not artists, generally speaking. But I invited a person named Corey Huff on the show to talk about, and he's from The Abundant Artist, and this particular episode actually became, even though I thought it was going to be the least downloaded episode, this year it became the most downloaded episode, the number 1 most downloaded episode. Why? Because it was specifically for artists, and I'm talking painters, sculptors, sketching artists, embroidery artists, like those kinds of crafts, people who sell on Etsy kind of situation, right? This episode started to spread like wildfire within that community. And I remember sharing it on Instagram, and everybody in my audience was tagging their friends who were artists. And that was the cool thing about this, because it was so specific. Even though my audience wasn't in this target audience, they knew people who were in this audience, or people who found it, then shared it on other forums and links. And this thing started to, again, spread like wildfire. And I'm talking like 200,000 listeners within the first 3 months. And that was pretty crazy, especially when you consider most of my episodes at this time, I think we're getting maybe around 50 to 60,000 downloads. 200,000 downloads within a few months was kind of mind-blowing. So really, really thankful that I niched down in this episode. And you don't want to do this necessarily every time, but it's definitely a strategy that you can use to mix things up a little bit and potentially gain access to different niches that are kind of sub niches in your space that maybe even don't know you exist yet. When you niche down like this, it goes really, really well. And even Shonda here says, like, this is how well this episode works. Let me pin this post from Shonda here. Thanks, Pat Flynn. I need to show that to one of my artists, or to my artist daughter. I've been trying to convince her for so long to go online. So as you can see, it's already working even right now, and it still continues to work today. I know that there's some people who still find me and say, hey, somebody introduced me to episode 96 the other day. And I was like, the other day? That just recently happened. This episode came out years ago. And this was just an interview with somebody. It wasn't even anything. That's the thing. If you go into a sub niche, find a person who can help you provide information, because you might not be the expert in that space, but you can become the expert curator. You can become the person who finds the personality or the expert that you can interview, and that could work a very long way too. What's up, Mai? Good to see you. Fun will now commence. Zenya Vlada, Destiny Show, Shoshana, you're amazing. Thank you for being here. Grandma Goody. Excuse me, slurping my coffee a little bit. All right, so we talked about 5, and then we're gonna go 4, 3, 2, 1. So we talked about content marketing and different examples of that. If you just missed it, no worries, you can go and watch the replay. We're gonna move on to number 4 here. That's number 4. So number 4, we're talking SEO, search engine optimization. The Destiny Show, who's here live with us right now, Boris, this is like his field of work, and there's a lot of other people who are way more knowledgeable, like Boris, on SEO. But SEO, search engine optimization, is absolutely important, because when you're creating content, you want to set it up for success so that possibly you can get this organic traffic. And the beauty of this kind of search engine optimization organic traffic is twofold. Number 1, it's free, which is really cool. And number 2, it's targeted often. And again, we talked about the importance of targeted traffic, not just any old traffic, stumble upon traffic. We don't want that. We want targeted traffic, and SEO is great for that, because people are typing in things that they need help with. They need help with things, and they're looking for answers. And if you could show up when they're looking for answers, they can potentially, number 1, obviously be a visitor, but number 2, stick around and be involved, and potentially, depending on how you create those moments for them, you can turn them and convert them into a super fan, which is ultimately what we want to do. Lewis B, hey Pat team, going mobile for now. No worries. Thank you for being here. Just however you get here, I don't care. The fact that you're here means the world to me, and I'm super stoked on that. By the way, big thank you to all the new members and everybody who's come in and helped support teachers this month, who we are putting a spotlight on, because teachers are amazing. Okay, so let's talk about SEO. And I'm not going to get super deep into this, but I want to get into the basics. In fact, there's a podcast episode that I did with the founder of Ahrefs, Tim Suolo, who just kind of blew everybody's mind. In fact, let me see if I can find that podcast right now. Because this episode, if you want to go a little bit deeper into search engine optimization, this is the episode to go to. And this is episode 364, SEO Simplified, with Tim from Ahrefs. Ahrefs is a keyword research tool. Now, you don't need to have a tool in order to make SEO work for you, but tools like this can work for you. Ahrefs is definitely a more expensive but much more advanced version of a keyword tool. And there's other ones like Longtail Pro, and there's even free ones that you could potentially use as well. But this episode works really, really well. And what I really love about SEO is that it's actually not that hard. It can be as hard as you want it to be, in fact. And I like sticking with the basics. I don't want to go into the depths of SEO because it can get pretty crazy. So here are the 3 things that I recommend focusing on. Number 1, keyword research, understanding what words people are typing into Google or YouTube to understand what specific phrases you should be using within your content. When you include that in the title of your podcast, the title of your YouTube videos, the title of your blog posts, that by far is going to be probably the most important thing. If you are indeed targeting a specific search term or phrase, include that in your title. That's just like basic rule number 1. Basic rule number 2 is in your metadata, in your description of whatever it is that you're creating. That includes your podcast, also the description of your YouTube videos, the description of your blog posts, the metadata, right? Use a tool like Yoast SEO plugin if you're on WordPress to be able to fine tune what that metadata is and include the same keywords there as well. Then in the first paragraph or the first sentence on YouTube or even the first sentence in your podcast, I would try and recommend to also share and say the same keyword. Yes, podcasts as well, because a lot of podcast search engines are now actually transcribing and listening. The automated bots there are indeed listening to your shows now. This is pretty cool. So use that to your advantage because I think SEO is going to play a major role in podcasting. It's kind of stepping up already in terms of Google doing this, and many other search engines, including Spotify and Apple, are going to do and follow suit too. So that's important. So we talked about title, metadata, and the first paragraph, first sentence, mention that keyword as well. This is by far going to set you up probably 50% of the way there. And that's huge, just by doing those simple things, right? How we do in room chat? Let me know. You guys getting value? I apologize. I'm going super quick here because I'm very passionate about this stuff and I want to give you as much information today. We have 5 things. Again, if you're coming in late, 5 things that we're talking about to help you get more traffic. Number 5 is content marketing. We gave you a few examples of different types of content that actually gain more traffic than others. We're on number 4 now, which is search engine optimization. Thank you all. Clanks in the house. What's up, Clanks? Good to see you here. Okay, so we talked about keyword research, finding out what these keywords are. You can use just simple tools like Google. I shared a trick the other day on Google that everybody loved. If you're looking up a how-to, for example, for teachers, you can let's see, for teachers, for example, right? This will autofill on Google for teachers, whatever. But if I want to find out what I can put before for teachers, I can just simply click in the beginning or even type an asterisk, and it could say discounts for teachers, gifts for teachers, interview questions for teachers, quotes for teachers day, etc. Right? So adding an asterisk or even just kind of coming back. Did you see how that? For podcasters, going to the back there. Spotify for podcasters, gifts for podcasters, a lot of gift type things. Stitcher for podcasts, SoundCloud podcasts, etc. So that's one thing we can do. Another resource for keyword research, answerthepublic.com. So if I'm creating content about podcasting, I want to go to the United States here, podcasting, I'm going to hit search. And again, this is answerthepublic.com. And this is what allows us to find out what questions people are asking about podcasts or podcasting in particular. And probably run this search for podcasts as well. And you'll see in just a moment here, it takes a little bit of time, but this is searching for legit specific questions, how to, or why, or when. So I'm going to scroll here and you'll see the what, are, why, which, can, will, who, when, where, how of all this. So to make this a little bit easier to read, I'm going to click on data. Can podcasting be a career? Can podcasting be a business? Can podcasting make money? How podcasting makes money? Podcasting how to book. How does podcasting make money? How did podcasting start, right? And if I go to YouTube and I type in how to make money podcasting, look who shows up. Because I know what people are looking for when it comes to podcasting. I've done searches similar to this, and when you know what questions people are asking, you can find out what to create content about. and you're doing twofold. Number one, answering people's questions, connecting with them, but number two, being found in search for that, if that makes sense. What up, Rap and Combat? Bruh. Good to see you here, my friend. I appreciate you. Cynthia. Welcome, Cynthia, to Team Flynn Gold. Thank you so much for being here. So again, I'm trying to simplify this for you. Find out what questions people are asking, what keywords people are typing in. Use a tool like Answer the Public or even that asterisk trick I just taught you in Google, and then write about that. Now, the final part of SEO I want to talk about, again, we could go super deep on SEO, but I'm not going to because I don't want to, number one, scare you away. Number two, overwhelm you. Number three, you don't have to. To start, just keep it real, keep it easy, keep it basic, right? If this were easy, what would it look like? Do that. Thank you, Tim Ferriss, for teaching me that setup. He taught me that whenever you're trying to do something, just consider, if this were easy, what would it look like? Do that. Okay, so number C, or letter C, I guess you could say, here are my notes. Remember, I was showing you about how to do live streams. I got my notes today on all this stuff right here in my phone. Interlinking. Make sure that, especially on your website, you are interlinking connected posts together. Meaning, let's say that you are somebody who talks a lot about podcasting, right? Like I do. Well, you're likely going to write about it in many different kinds of ways, different kinds of aspects of it, from monetization to setup to hosting, all the things, right? You can have them all on one pillar post, but you could have sub-articles or side or tertiary articles that also could go along with it too. Make sure all these things are interlinked with each other. This is why Wikipedia is so powerful, because it just immediately interlinks everything together, and this creates relevance, this creates context, this makes it easier for the user to go through and find things that they need or might be interested in. It allows for people on your website to now no longer just bounce on the page that they go to. Bouncing means they come to the page and then they leave within a certain period of time. Now, because of all the interlinking that you're doing, you're having people sort of find other things. And when they go to more pages and spend more time on your site, guess what that does? It helps for search engine optimization. So it also helps the spiders crawl. I hate spiders, but I like Google spiders. I want them as much as possible. I'm just trying to not imagine Google spiders as like 8-legged things with googly eyes or something. But I want the spiders to crawl my website. I can help that through interlinking on my website and allowing for people and the machines to kind of find out what's relevant and related to each other, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that simplified SEO a little bit. And again, I recommend checking out that episode with Tim from Ahrefs on the Smart Passive Income podcast, right? Cool. Thank you for all the likes, by the way. We are actually approaching 100 and we're not even halfway through the chat yet. So I appreciate you for that. We were going to move on. So number 5 was content marketing. We talked specifically about pillar content. We talked about challenges and stepping out of your comfort zone to create a series of things that people can look forward to, right? People look forward to the niche site Duel. People look forward to my income reports very similarly. And also niche within the niche specific content. For example, how I created episode 96 specifically about how to create content and monetize as an artist. And I thought that episode was going to bomb, but it in fact became the most popular episode that year because it was so specific to that crew, that group of people. They shared it around, and that really worked really well for me to find brand new people who hadn't found me yet. Number 4, we talked about search engine optimization, keeping it simple, right? From keyword research and tools like the asterisk trick on Google, as well as answerthepublic.com, inserting the keywords in the title, the description, and the first part of your content, just to help the machines learn that this is what it's about. And then C, interlinking between all that stuff as well. So thank you, Boris, for confirming that this is good information about SEO, because Destiny's show, Boris here, works in that field, and I just want to make sure I am expressing things that would definitely help you. I don't like the spider emojis that I'm seeing on the screen, by the way, because I just have a terrible, terrible case of arachnophobia. Not always. It was a moment in time when I was a kid. Something happened in my bedroom with a spider, and it ruined my life with spiders. So yeah, that wasn't cool. But that stuff happens. Okay, number 3, we're going to be talking now about paid advertising. So you can spend money to get traffic. It's been happening for a very long time now, but a lot of people do it and they succeed. A lot of other people, they do it and they fail. It can be a complete waste of money. And the beauty of paid advertising is it's something that can happen quite quickly, right? If you can master, there's 2 things you need to master. Number 1, the targeting. Who is it that you're targeting? And number 2, the message that they will respond to. Targeting, message, targeting, message. Those are the two most important things. If you just want general traffic, you're going to be wasting money. And if you don't nail the messaging, even if your target audience is targeted properly, you're going to lose out on a lot of money as well. So paid advertising, I will say I have less experience with when it comes to traffic building. I prefer the organic free way to do it, but that takes some time. The beauty of paid advertising is you can see almost immediately, if you do it right, more traffic coming in, and hopefully you can track that. That's the other part of tracking is really important when it comes to paid advertising, especially if you have it leading to something where there's an offer and a payment on the other end. Ideally, and this is what I often recommend, I wouldn't get involved in paid advertising unless, number one, you had a budget for it in your accounting and you can, in fact, plan for that. And whether or not that traffic comes in and converts or not, you just want more traffic, like that's fine. But number two, I would recommend doing it when you know that this traffic that you're paying for coming in can pay you back. Meaning there's some sort of path from the social channel that they're on to either downloading something or becoming a part of a webinar or downloading a lead magnet and getting involved in your email list to then some sort of offer so that this is ideally the analogy that you want, right? You put in a quarter to get traffic, and for every person you put a quarter in, you get $1 back, right? And if that happens, I mean, this is just a machine, right? So many people I know have figured out the formula for paid advertising in such a way where they're literally popping quarters and they're getting dollars back. And they take more of those dollars, turn them into quarters, pop them back in, and it's just cycling like crazy, right? So you can literally create a money-making machine if you do it right. And you have the mechanism to, number one, find the right traffic, offer the right message, put them into a funnel, and then have them essentially not just pay for the ads, but then pay you back in profit, and you can help serve more people this way. Like, advertising is not bad. I think that most people, or maybe we are on the receiving end of not so great advertising sometimes, or it feels kind of icky, or we just kind of like, why are you advertising on, like, why are you targeting me? You're not relevant. And then we don't want to be that. You can do it right for sure. So there's a couple of resources I want to offer you for paid advertising. I want to recommend Monica Louie from Flourish with Monica. She's one of my students. She's helped me with ads before, and we've only used Monica and her service when we have something to sell. So there's a lot of intricate things related to paid advertising. I know a lot of people who do it, but it's a lot. It's definitely a new thing to learn. It is a thing to learn such that all other things that you want to learn should go out the window, and you should be focusing on that if indeed that's something you want to focus on. So Monica Louie, you can find her at flourishwithmonica.com. And you could also go to rickmulready.com. Rick is a good friend of mine, fellow podcaster, lives here in San Diego with me, and just an all-around amazing dude and super helpful. Like Monica, takes these things that are complicated, makes them very graspable, very easy to consume and do. So Monica Louie from Flourish with Monica, and also Rick Mulready from rickmulready.com. So those are great. Those are great. Okay, let's see. I see a lot of spider conversation happening in the chat, and I don't like it. I'm not going to look at the chat for now. You guys are crazy. Just kidding. I love you guys, but I don't like spiders. So, okay. So Facebook and Instagram are the platforms that most people start with when it comes to advertising because, relatively speaking, it is a lot easier to manage and figure out. You can target certain people. You can target certain people who have certain likes. You can target people who have been on your email list or have visited a certain page. That's called retargeting, and that's very powerful because you kind of know a little bit about them already, and that's really that's absolutely powerful. For example, one thing that we often do is during a campaign, we can see in our email list using ConvertKit who has clicked to visit a sales page, right? So great. Whether you're using advertising or not, it's just nice to know that how many people are clicking through the sales page. What we can do is we can export that list of people who have indeed clicked on that specific link to go to the sales page, knowing they clicked. We upload that to Facebook, and now we can send ads to just those people because their email addresses are connected. So I can say, hey, saw you visited the sales page, would love to answer any questions you might have to see if this is the right product for you. Or I can go into some objections or some other kinds of messaging that might help them get off the fence and into my program, right? So retargeting is absolutely powerful, but Facebook and Instagram are pretty common for that. Making sure you're tracking, you have that messaging really key. And then finally, I would love for you to consider even podcast advertising. Podcast advertising is becoming very popular because it is also very evergreen. You have a 30-second spot on somebody else's show. You're getting endorsed by that host who has this amazing relationship with that group of listeners. And of course, they're not always going to go back and after 6 weeks or whatever, take out that ad. It could be there forever. In fact, I have ads on podcasts that were back in 2014 that are still running for people who paid for them back in the day. And this is a great opportunity, especially with more people podcasting, more people wanting to make money podcasting. You can get some really good deals right now by going to brand new podcasters and saying, hey, can you mention my brand and my program for, $100 in the next episode for 30 seconds or something? Like, you can get some sweet, sweet deals right now. Now, obviously, the much larger podcasts are going to charge a lot more, but there's definitely some opportunities out there for you in podcast advertising for sure. Podcast advertising. Funny, we watched Spider-Man Far From Home yesterday. It was Kai's birthday, so she wanted to watch her guy, Tom Holland. Good movie, by the way. Zendaya's in that movie as well. She's awesome. Okay, so we talked about number 5, content. Not just any old content, but targeted content, types of content that are going to bring traffic your way. If you missed that, go back and watch the replay after this is done processing. It's there forever for you to check out. And again, thank you for being here. Number 4. Whoa. Mixed up those numbers right. Number 4, specifically, we talked about search engine optimization, trying to make it simple. I see Destiny or Boris here in the chat helping people even more. Thank you for that, my friend. Keyword research, title description, interlinking, making it easy, find out what people are searching for using tools like Google and even Answer the Public to then create content about that so that you can get ranked. And again, that takes some time. Faster ways to get traffic are things like what we just talked about, paid advertising. Paid advertising being a way that you can pay to actually get traffic. Just make sure that we're not just throwing money down the tube or even getting traffic and not knowing what to do with it. We want to know the path from paying for this traffic to something that can pay us back, right? Whether it's paying, I know some people who pay for traffic to the most popular blog posts that have affiliate opportunities in them, right? And those actually can be really cheap. I mean, anywhere from 5 to 15 cents per visitor. And if you know that for every 100 visitors, you're getting somebody to click and buy something and you're getting a $100 commission for that, wow, let's spend money all day to get that money back, right? So whether it's to another product that you have on a page or your own product, and maybe even not directly to that product, but a funnel, a lead magnet, a webinar, a registration page of some kind to then nurture them, bring them into the scene, offer them something, get that money back, and then some, right? Okay. So that's number 3. Any guesses for the next 2? I'm guessing that you won't be able to guess them. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. We'll see. The second top way to do it, and again, we're going to go to number 1 right after that, and then there likely will be some time for Q&A, but I like this second when we went 5, 4, 3, and this is number 2. This is using tools and calculators to get people to come. So this is kind of like content marketing. You're creating something that's useful, but this is not information. This is a tool. This is a resource that you are creating. Excuse me. Let me see if I can find an example. A good friend of mine, Todd Tressiter from financialmentor.com. He and I are in a mastermind group together. This is his website there. That's what he looks like. He is awesome, and he's just a wealth of information. And he teaches finance, but in a more advanced function. So he's sort of on the higher end of sort of advice for personal finance online. And he's been to FinCon, and he and I are good friends. And again, we've been in a mastermind group together for a while. But if I go to Google, and this is one of the top ways that he gets traffic to his website. If I type in retirement calculator into Google and I scroll down, it might be on the second page because I know it's a very competitive situation. Financial mentor. Here we go. Best retirement calculator. Simple, free, powerful. This is his website. And again, this particular, you can see using keywords everywhere. 2,600 hits a month here. This is on his webpage, a retirement calculator. So ultimate retirement calculator. He has keywords in here as well. He has some related articles as well for interlinking like we talked about. And then here it is. Enter the age at current year, 37. Enter the age you plan to retire, 50. Enter life expectancy, 90. Desired retirement income. And then he has an explanation there, and I could just go down the list here. But this is something that brings him traffic. And of course, he has now his books there. He has now a way to join his email list to be a part of his program and all this kind of stuff. It's awesome. So creating these calculators or tools can go a very long way. I also know Brian Harris, a good friend of ours from videofruit.com, has created multiple tools. In fact, this was a primary strategy of his for the longest time, was to create these one-off pieces of software that just do one thing really quickly, right? So I think there was one that was like a ROI calculator for your email list. Like you pop in your email list size, it does a few calculations in the back end, and then all of a sudden it gives you how much you can expect with a campaign and how much you might have to budget for an ad campaign or something like that. Really, really cool, right? Neil Patel does this very well too. Uber Suggest, right? Who said that? Kartik, yes, thank you, Kartik. Uber Suggest, a great tool that we've mentioned here on the show before, a free keyword research tool from Neil Patel. Again, on Neil Patel's website. And this is something that I am looking to explore more into because these tools, these resources can go a very, very long way. Here's Uber Suggest from Neil Patel. And again, a free tool. It takes a little bit of time and investment. But in fact, there's a tool I want to recommend to you called outgrow.co. If you use the affiliate link, smartpassiveincome.com/outgrow, you can check this out there. But this is a place to go and create a quiz or create a resource. And you can see different examples here. You can get qualified leads doing this. And again, these things become very shareable, right? These things become very, very shareable. I wonder if I could see some. Okay, can't see them there. But there's templates here. Search by content type. Let's search for calculators. You can use a template from a calculator here. Types of calculators you can make with Outgrow. Let's see what pops up here. How much do you need to save to buy for a Tesla? Let's preview this. So somebody created this, and they created the calculations, right? Which is really, really cool. How much do you save by buying a Tesla? Get started. All cars have premium interior and sound. This is the one I want. Long range battery. Let's go black. And this, of course, connects the price point to these different selections. Let's go black and white interior. Yes. Enhanced autopilot. Let's go with the sport wheels. About how many miles a year do you plan on driving? Sure. Let's go about there. Look, you can even include gifts to keep people interested. Let's pay cash. And then, of course, you can either choose to have people enter their name or email, or you can have them skip it if you want. And I can see, okay, Model 3 savings. This is how much I'm essentially saving as a result of doing this, right? And this can be a great way to convince my audience of Tesla people. I don't have an audience of Tesla people, but it might be a great way for people to go and get a quiz, get some resources, get some really insightful information to then go, oh, I can purchase a Tesla thing. And now if I was a person doing this, I would say, click here to get your Tesla using my affiliate link, because Tesla has a referral program, and maybe even pop in a video on that page. These are really, really cool things that you could do to get people to come and to share. One thing that we wanted to focus on that we just haven't had time to do yet, but this is an idea that we have, is to create a calculator for podcasters. You pop in how many listeners you get per episode, how many episodes you have, how long your episodes are, how many ad spots you'd like to include, how long they are for, and maybe even pick an industry. And then boom, it spits out how much you could potentially make in every episode, right? That's a kind of a cool calculator. We just haven't had the chance to do that. That becomes a very shareable resource. That becomes something that podcasters will likely link to on their own website who teach other podcasters, because we can use a tool like outgrow.co to do this. And again, if you want to go through my affiliate link for that, smartpassiveincome.com/outgrow. So you might consider something in your space that you can create a really cool calculator for. These things get found. People are actually searching for these things. In fact, I'm curious if I go to Google and I go podcast advertising calculator. Right? This is a search term. I don't have much more information about this, but CPM calculator. We can create something similar, And with the reach that we have, we could potentially make it something that, what's up, Jillian? Good to see you here. Hey, this could be something that can, Kathy says, thank you, Pat, for those examples. Yeah, this could be an idea, right? Now, for any of these things that we're talking about, especially these quizzes or calculators, we don't want to just like create it. Pat, do you have a Tesla affiliate link? I do, in fact, Kathy, but I'm not here to promote it or share it. But if you'd like one, just send me an email, pat@patflynn.com. I could send it to you. And I think you get like free supercharging for a year or something if you go through my link, and I get something in return. I don't know. Pat@patflynn.com. If you literally want my Tesla referral link, I'd be more than happy to give it to you, obviously. But that's not why I mentioned it. But thank you, Kathy. So yes, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. But anyway, make sure that when you build these things, you make a huge deal out of them. Tease it. There was an episode of the Income Stream where we talked about teasing something that's coming so that it's a big deal. People can look forward to it, right? So when we do this podcast advertising calculator or a quiz, I would definitely make a big deal out of it, right? Hey, it's coming on this date. We're going to be releasing it. And guess what? It's free. It's free for you to use. You can do a lot of things with quizzes and calculators to go from there to, something else, to then maybe an email list or a product or anything like that. So a lot of cool things. Slav says, very cool out-of-the-box idea. Thank you so much. Good stuff, this says Cynthia. Mark says, thank you, Pat. Great info. Hi, Robiel. Good to see you. Michael says, I built out some fitness calculators that got me some good traffic. Cool. Thank you. Glad that's working. Could we do something like ConvertFlow or Write Message? Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Write Message, I know you can do something similar with, and ConvertFlow, I've seen that as well. You can do something similar too. So again, tool, just the one that I recommend that I know is easy to use for something like quizzes or calculators. I think calculators, if you're going to do a calculator, Dan, it's going to be much easier in something like Outgrow, which is built for like calculations and stuff and algorithms and whatnot that you can create behind the scenes. You can make it as easy or as simple or as hard as you want. We got to get to number one. We're going to get to number one right now, but let's do a quick recap for everybody who's here because we have more and more people coming in live. Thank you so much for coming in live. Big thanks to all the new members here, and you guys are amazing. So what price range can we expect to lay or to pay probably as a podcast sponsor? It depends. Typical cost per 1,000 downloads are anywhere between $12 and $50, depending on what it is that you're buying. In addition to perhaps just the audio clip, it could be something else, or the audio read. It's not necessarily a pre-file that you send to the person, but anyway, we can talk very deeply about podcast ads, but typically $12 to $45 cost per 1,000 downloads is how much you can expect to pay. Okay, so let's recap. Number 5, we talked about content creation. Not just any content creation, targeted content creation, different types of content that get more traffic than other things. For example, pillar articles or these challenges or ongoing series where people want to see and can't wait to see the results of something, as well as niche specific, so sub-niche specific content that could go viral in those spaces. We talked about a few examples of that. Number 4, we talked about search engine optimization, trying to make it easy as possible for that to happen. Keyword research obviously being an important part of that, using those keywords in the title and the description and in the first part of your content, whether it's a YouTube video, podcast, or blog. Number 3, going into paid advertising and some of the mechanics of that. Hopefully doing it in a way where you can get an ROI, and maybe even only doing it if that's the case, unless you have a budget for it. Talking about messaging and targeting, those two pieces being the most important part. Considering podcast advertising or podcast sponsorship, YouTube sponsorship as well. That can go a very long way. Number 2, that was number 3. Number 2, talking about tools and calculators. I gave you some examples, and again, outgrow.co being that quiz tool. I do want to give an honorable mention to something that's working really well for us right now too, and that's PR. Big shout out to Brittany Lynn, who's my PR manager and PR person who we hired. She's great, and she has helped us get seen in front of new people. More general public audiences with regards to a lot of news related to COVID and all that kind of stuff. I've talked a lot about getting laid off and how to bounce back from that, how to work from home with kids, a lot of relevant content. But PR can go a very, very long way to get in front of other people. And that means TV, media, those kinds of things. It is working. It's a little bit more effort. And if you want to check out Brittany Lynn, you can just look her up, Brittany Lynn PR. She's awesome and has helped me out too. So that's an honorable mention here. But let's go to number one. Number one, and I saw Manos mention this earlier, so he guessed it right. Number one is getting promotion from other people, getting endorsed organically by other people. Organically is obviously a term that can be sort of defined by different people in different ways. But I'm not talking about getting a person to talk about you because you're paying for them. But maybe there's some sort of coordination or collaboration that you might do, or partnership of some kind where you do a share for share, right? Or maybe you've created something specific to that person and they want to mention you and give you a shout out. Getting promoted by other people is by far going to give you the best traffic. Kartik here says number one, email list blast. I mean, email list blasts will work, as well as repurposing social media. But as you can tell, I didn't mention social media. The reason why I didn't mention any of those things is because today I wanted to talk about getting new eyeballs on your brand. The problem with repurposing and also social media is anytime you share something, it's going to be to people who already know you exist. And you're just hoping that that person will then share it with somebody else who then finds you who hadn't known about you before. With sending email blasts, yes, you can get more traffic by sending to email. But number one, what if you don't have an email list yet? Hopefully you do. But number two, again, you're sending stuff to people who already know you exist. We want more eyeballs on our stuff from people who don't know we exist yet. And when you get endorsed by another person, it goes such a long way because other people have worked really hard to earn trust with an audience. You going cold into that audience or targeting them cold or having them just find you is not going to be worth as much as somebody else who's already helped earn trust with that audience to go, oh, you got to check out this person here. And that goes a very, very long way. Xenia says, what about superfans? I mean, superfans are great too. But superfans are a result of doing all of these things, if that makes sense. Superfans is creating moments over time, and we want new people to find us. Now, of course, within your audience, your own audience can help promote your stuff too, but I want to talk about these things that are easily accessible or more accessible to all of us. But yes, superfans, I would definitely recommend that too, but I'm not here to toot my own horn or promote my own book. But if you want to check out superfans, it's going to help you get more traffic as well, and superfans and loyal customers, etc. But let's talk about getting promoted by other. So being a guest on another person's podcast is right now the number one way to get more targeted traffic who will love you the moment they find you, because you're getting, endorsed by somebody else, and also you are able to make an impression on them. People who listen to podcasts are listening to content for much longer than reading a blog post or reading an email or reading a social channel. So get in front of other audiences. Number one, podcast guesting goes a very long way. You might remember a strategy that I taught you earlier in the income stream, not today, but earlier in another episode, about how you can utilize forums and groups. Now, if you were to go into a forum or a group and just go, hey guys, check out my stuff, what's going to happen? You're going to get the cold shoulder. You're going to get banned. You're going to get kicked out, right? That's not going to be cool. What we need to do is have somebody in that group share our stuff for us. And the strategy that I teach utilizes the admin or the founder of that group. You can go to Facebook. You can look for groups. You can go to LinkedIn and look for groups, right? So let's just say, let's use LinkedIn as an example because I've used Facebook many times before, but you can use the same strategy on Facebook as well. So welcome back, Pat. I'm on LinkedIn now. Not now, please. I'm going to look for knitting. Like, let's just say I'm doing knitting stuff. And I want to look for groups. So I'm going to go to more, and then I'm going to go to groups. So look at this. Stole Flat Knitting, 2,200 members, 5,000 members here in this knitting industry one. Like, imagine if I were able to just go in here and have all these members know that I have a podcast, and it could go a very long way for them. If I just went into this group, joined it, and started promoting my own stuff, it's not going to work. But if I have somebody else promote it for me, that'd be awesome. So how might I do this? I'm going to click in, and look, Billy Hunter is the owner. I'm going to reach out to Billy and see what I can do to figure out how I can contact him, either reach out to him here on LinkedIn or reach out to him somewhere else. He is a publisher of leading textile industry news sites. So wow, what an amazing connection this would be. Knittingindustry.com, right? Maybe doing a little bit more research there. Now, let's just say I have a podcast and I would love to be featured by Billy here, even mentioned on his channel. My goal would be to see how I can make Billy look like a hero. So maybe I invite him on my show for an interview. Chances are that, number one, he's going to say yes to this because he's in the industry. He wants to get some more love. He wants to get some more authority. He wants to be seen as the hero, right? So we're offering him our platform to do that. Number two, chances are, number one, he'll say yes. And number two, that he'll share this himself in his group. Why would Billy share this in his own group? Because he's the one that's featured there. I hope you can all see the power of this strategy. Maybe you do a roundup episode where you have 10 different group owners share their number one tip for how to get started in knitting. And again, maybe the interview with Billy is not how do you knit, but more so like, what do you think the future of the textile industry is going to be in 2021? How has COVID made an impact on the industry, right? So that could be really great. I mean, this strategy is the number one strategy that my podcast students are using. Utilizing forums and groups, interviewing or contacting the owner, allowing them to come on the show in some way, whether it's a small little tip or a big full feature episode, in which case this person will now share that on their channels, in their groups. Why? Again, because you've made them look good. And we humans, we are selfish species. So we are helping these people. We are offering them value. And in exchange, they're likely going to share this, which does what? Now we're getting endorsed. Now Billy's going in and saying, hey, you got to listen to this podcast with Pat. Pat's Knitting Podcast. I was featured on to talk about the future of the textile industry. You got to listen to the show, everybody. So now I'm not spamming anymore. Billy's actually endorsing me for me. And also I can build a relationship with, it would absolutely behoove you not to use this strategy for growth. This is why this works so well, because you've made Billy look like a hero, and now he wants to share it as much as possible. It would absolutely behoove you not to use this strategy. So hopefully you can take this strategy and this idea of getting in front of others. Maybe you don't have a podcast. So how might else you help Billy? You can go to Billy and go, hey, Billy, I have come up with something that I think would be really helpful for your community. If you'd like, I'd love to, for free, present this to your group. So this is another way. It would absolutely be a great way for you to help this audience. Maybe you don't have a platform, but maybe you can offer some of your superpowers to their community. Hey, Billy, I'd love to, if you wanted to set up a free presentation, I'm not going to sell anything. I just want to share this with your group because I found out this information that I think would be really helpful. Guess what? I get invited to groups all the time. Private masterminds, private little communities to talk either about superfans quite often or especially podcasting, right? I'm getting, there's so many virtual conferences happening now that you could get on virtual stages in that way and share your expertise with their audience, whether you're on a person's podcast and sharing that expertise, whether you're in a person's group or in a mastermind or on a person's stage doing the same thing. All right. So that takes us to the end of today. We actually don't have time for questions because we got through a lot, but hey, 200 people in the house, 100 thumbs up. If you, before you leave, can hit that thumbs up on the lower right-hand corner of your screen right now, that would be really, really fantastic and helpful for the algorithm. I think this was a brilliant episode inspired by you. Many of you were asking for more updated information about how to get more traffic, and I'm very thankful that I was able to share this with you and hopefully in some way or some capacity blow your mind. That's why I'm here. I want you to have this hour be worth your time. If you're watching the replay, come back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern or noon Eastern. I'm here to blow your mind every day as much as possible to help you avoid the mistakes, to help you fast forward your way to success. And again, my name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And I'm just absolutely grateful for each and every one of you here who are here live with me, who are helping each other, who are supporting the community, who this month are helping to support the teachers through the memberships that are here and also the super chats that come in. Thank you so much. And yeah, even though you all talked about spiders today, I forgive you. It's all good. Hey, everybody, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day today, and yeah, keep up the great work. Peace out, y'all. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Hey, y'all, thanks again. This is a weird start to the week because it's Tuesday, but that doesn't mean we can't reach our goals. We can't make progress toward the things that we're trying to accomplish. And hopefully you can get inspired here, motivated to continue that journey moving forward. Peace out. Thanks so much. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.
Bruh.